And joining us once again here on the Jay Stevens podcast, it is someone that I went to high school with, has been on the podcast a few times previously, but it's been quite a long time. And there was a little hiatus between Ronnie and I being able to have our schedules match up together for him to come back on the podcast. But Ronnie Roberts, welcome back to the Jay Stevens podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I appreciate the opportunity once again to jump on your podcast and talk about both of the sports or, football in general that we love to, watch and endure and used to play together and, just, have a good time.
Absolutely, man. Ronnie, before we get to talking about football, how are you, your family doing? We got snow here in Indianapolis. I think you guys got some up there in Chicago. How are you guys doing right now?
We're doing good. Within the past 2 weeks, it's probably been in my area close to 20 inches of snow.
Oh, my goodness.
And then they're expecting another 8 to 9 inches on Thursday, Friday. So
what?
Yeah, it's just been a process of making sure my snowblower makes it through this winter, making sure my arms are all spoofed up and ready to go to shovel the driveway. So other than that, through God's graces and through God's, views and visions, my family's been pandemic free. Nobody that I know of personally has gotten COVID. That's family, related. But I've known a couple people that have gotten COVID, and they've withstood the trials and tribulations that the pandemic has brought on everybody, and they were able to come out on the other end still alive and breathing. So for the most part, it's just trying to get used to wearing masks all the time, staying 6 feet away, not shaking hands or fist bumping like we used to, and just living your normal life like we used to.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I had no idea you guys had gotten that much snow over the weekend. Yeah. We got about 4 inches, a little less than 4 inches between Saturday and the Sunday. It just hit quickly, and the temperature didn't drop, so it didn't freeze over and wasn't all icy. It rained on Sunday, so a lot of it on Sunday morning without a slush put together wasn't really the snow or the ice on the ground. But you guys got a lot of snow, man. That's way more than I thought you guys had got. That's a lot.
Well, especially in the Northeast. I mean, or not Northeast, sorry. I'm northwest of downtown Chicago. So everything's coming from Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then it's coming down, and hitting me right in the back door. And, my child wasn't able to walk out in the backyard without, hopping around like Bambi and stuff. So it's, it could be worse. We could be snowed in, and, everybody could have lost their job due to the pandemic. But, like I said, you thank God every day for everything that you have, the air you breathe, the opportunities that I've been given. So, I mean, how are you doing, Jay? I mean, I know I haven't spoke to you in a while. We haven't talked. I think the last time I was on your podcast, I was talking with you and Garrett. We were kind of going back and forth about predictions. Can't remember if it was football related, basketball related, but it's always a good time to get together with a fellow classmate, a fellow sports aficionado, enthusiast, and, talk about the sports we love and, just having a good time at the time we're given. So
yeah, I'm doing well, Ronnie. This year, I say year, it hasn't been 2021, but over the past year, it's actually something that I've learned a lot about myself and about others, and about really the positives and negatives about what we do on a day-to-day basis, our positive attitudes and negative attitudes and how they affect other people. As far as the virus goes, I've been fine. My mom, dad, brother, they have all been fine. My brother's fiance, she came down with the COVID, and she was down for I think 2 or 3 weeks. She's back, but she's working from home, so she doesn't leave the house. She's at home most of the time anyway. I did have my cousin and some few family members that caught it, and they were in the hospital for a long time. My mom's sister was in the hospital for 16 weeks, long time, but she's out. She's back home in Fort Wayne right now, living life and trying to do what she can. Lungs, I think, are a little impacted or drastically impacted, but she's moving day by day and trying to get better with how as well as she can. But for the most part, man, things are going well. Like you said, though, it's just rolling with the punches. I mean, it hasn't been a year since things officially shut down for the first time, but it's been about a year, a little bit over that, since we've heard the rumblings of COVID and going back to Kobe Bryant's passing, where that was a lot of thoughts and different emotions that a lot of people experience. Myself, I'm sure you may have experienced some as well. But for the most part, man, I am doing well. The podcast keeps me busy. Work keeps me busy. And with sports being back on TV, especially football, which we'll talk about here in a second, it makes coming home at night and being able to sit down and watch TV no matter what game is on, it makes things fun. And for a second, we occasionally kind of forget about what else is out there. People say sports may not be, or maybe it shouldn't be your escape, but no, Ronnie, it is an escape. It is my escape. And I think it's your escape as well, because we get so busy. We get an hour, 2 hours, maybe 2.5 to just watch a basketball game or football game or baseball or hockey or soccer, whatever sport, tennis, golf, whatever it is. We sit down and we enjoy it because we need those times to just have that little mental or emotional escape from life and just relax and enjoy something that allows us to forget about what's going on around the world.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Football, man. We're here for football. And you mentioned it a little bit. Football is back on. Football had an entire season, no preseason, but they did get every game in this year. I didn't think they would. I thought they would find a way. They thought they would be more like college football. But the NFL said, hey, look, we're trying to play every game. Even if we got to postpone a game and treat certain teams better than others, we're going to do what's needed to play these games. And we have two teams. Before the season, I talked to a guy that covers the Chiefs. He expected the Chiefs to go 19-0. I think they only have one loss on the season. Many Tom Brady and New England Patriots fans, or Tom Brady fans, not Patriots fans, a lot of them will say, hey, well, it's Tom Brady. He's going to the Super Bowl. He's going to go there no matter who's around him. He's going to find a way to get there. Before the season, did you expect that the Chiefs and the Buccaneers would be playing in Tampa for the Super Bowl?
Well, let's first start off. Who would have thought Tom Brady would have went to a different team rather than the Patriots that he played for?
I thought he would have stayed
years.
Yeah, I know.
And, recruit Gronkowski. I can't recall if anybody else had joined the team. But with that being said, who would have thought somebody would have left an organization after 20 years that they've bled and, that they've put their blood, sweat, and tears into, and they've, created relationships and created that foundation of success. 6 Super Bowl rings in 20 years is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to Tampa Bay has, all of the talent in the world to hopefully not beat the reigning, Super Bowl champ, Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody has their opinion on Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Bruce Arians as well. I don't want to take up the duration of our program here talking about what Bruce Arians has went through as far as being an assistant to, being an assistant head coach. And then when Chuck Logano went down, Pagano, sorry, not Logano, Chuck Pagano, going down with leukemia, he stepped in and, kept the Colts on line. So, back to the football aspect, nobody would have thought Tom Brady would have transitioned from one powerhouse to rebuild into another one and succeed and define all odds to make it to his, I think they were saying his 10th or 11th Super Bowl appearance.
His 10th.
Which is astronomical.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the ball, you got the young gun. You have, Pat Mahomes. You have a guy that played at Texas Tech who, he was consistent at Texas Tech, but at the same thing, it's hard to transition from the college to the pros. It's hard, because blitz packages are different. Defensive coordinators prepare differently. They look at quarterbacks, especially of his, magnitude and his stature and his playing style. It's hard to, put a plan together that allows you to keep him in the pocket. Once you think you have him in the pocket, you don't, because he's rolling out left, he's rolling out right, he's pointing in all sorts of directions. He's throwing ridiculous Houdini-style passes, and they're being completed. Now, to his advantage, he's got Tyreek Hill. He's got Travis Kelce. He's got an underrated weapon at running back. Edwards Hilaire. So he's got some talent around him. And with that being said, I think figuratively speaking, they have a good chance of beating Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. For me, which I agree with, is they could do that because of the Buccaneers defense. They've been consistent on sometimes because they got some veteran players and they got a young talent in Devin White. And there's a couple other players that make up that dominant defense. Now, I've read other articles that, they're calling the Buccaneers the Legion of Boom 2.0. That's coming from somebody else, but, that's somebody else's opinion. They have a player at every position that they thought could succeed and make their team better. And of all things, like I said, who would have thought Tom Brady would have transitioned from the Patriots to the Buccaneers and make it to the Super Bowl and be the only team in Super Bowl or the NFL history to play in the Super Bowl in their home stadium. So, I mean, it's going to be an exciting game. It's going to go back and forth. Tom Brady's not going to just lay down and like, hey, I'm passing the torch off to this young gun. He's doing his thing. He's putting up these ridiculous points. He's putting up all these trick plays and passes. And, the sky's the limit for Pat Mahomes. I think after this season, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, what's to say if Andy Reid steps down and retires? Then you start with somebody else, or you promote within the organization and you hit the ground running again, and hopefully you three-peat. I mean, the last team to go consecutive was the 03-04 Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. So, with that being said, it's going to be a shootout. I'm excited, and it's going to be different because of the whole protocols that COVID's put in place about having fans and, having a packed house, and it's going to be different. But, most people are looking at watching the game and other people are waiting for the commercials to play. So.
Dude, man, this game, when I look at this game and think about how not just the quarterback play, but the battle in the trenches and then the skill positions as well, I think it's going to be a major chess match. Because you have Tom Brady, who can be his own offensive coordinator, but you have Byron Leftwich behind him, who's allowing and helping Brady see things maybe different with the receivers that are there and the running backs that's there, and Bruce Arians, and see things in a different way, and really making the bridge and the acclimation to a new system a whole lot easier for Brady than it may not be if it was maybe somebody else that maybe never played against Tom Brady, or maybe someone that's a little bit younger and they know of Tom Brady, but not what Tom Brady has gone through his entire career. Byron Leftwich has been there for, I think, the entire duration, and he's been an NFL lifer since Tom Brady came into the NFL. He may have missed 1 or 2 years early on, but they've been around football, professional football, their entire lives. From Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is so special, man. I was talking to my buddy. Patrick Mahomes, to me, is very much like a Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry, when he came in, he did kind of have to fight his way. He didn't start right away. Well, when Steph Curry's on the court, something electric is possible. Something crazy may happen. When Patrick Mahomes has the ball in his hands, you never know what's going to happen. May it be extending a play, making a crazy pass, a left-handed pass. May it be the right timed audible to move the ball and to exploit a hole that maybe nobody else saw but Patrick Mahomes. He is very special. Now, the introduction to the professional ranks, Curry's a little bit different than Mahomes, but they both have that ability to have your eyeballs glued to the TV when that ball is in their hand, so that you're waiting, and basically you're waiting on the edge of your seat to find out what's going to happen next. The Chiefs offense and Chiefs defense, they might have the upper hand when they're on the field. The Chiefs defense in the back half. Now, the Chiefs defense, they do kind of struggle to stop the run, but the back half, Tyrann Mathieu and the other guys on the defense and the secondary, they're crazy. And they do a phenomenal job of disguise and confusing the quarterback. What do you think Tom Brady and his offense can do against this Chiefs defense that is looking to really force Tom Brady into throwing 3 interceptions and a half in back-to-back games?
I would think, the first thing would be, just fill the defense out. Tom Brady, being a successful quarterback in 20 years, he's seen a lot of defenses. He's seen a lot of shiftiness of the defensive line, like you were mentioning in the trenches. The Kansas City defense doesn't really have the experience on the line like, Tampa Bay does. That's the key thing. I wouldn't say it would define the game. It's mainly having Tom Brady acknowledge where, Sorensen is, where Matthew is, where Clark is, the list goes on. They're shifty players. They'll move around. They'll move, they'll disguise Tom, and he'll throw an out route or a dig, and then it gets picked off. Most defenses can pick out and they can decipher what quarterbacks are doing just because of the way they move their body or the way they're looking or pointing. Tom Brady's quick on, picking on, inexperienced players. If somebody's guarding Gronk, he's going, back corner, Gronkowski's going to make that ridiculous catch in the end zone for a touchdown. With that being said, they have Leonard Fournette,
Mm-hmm.
a really good player for a number of years in Jacksonville. He didn't have a decent offensive line that got him, the extra step to make it the playoffs. They didn't have a decent quarterback. That's another podcast. But, with Fournette, he's got a veteran running back that can get you that 6 to 8 yards, 10 yards, depending on how big of a gap, those guys up front can make. So at the end of the day, it just depends on which Kansas City defense shows up, the one that can disrupt or knock Tom Brady off his pedestal in the back, or, how many plays that they can make, with, minimal yards gained as far as running the ball, digs and jabs and, short passes, short plays. I mean, we didn't mention Antonio Brown.
No.
That's a different story. Antonio Brown, he's had his ups and downs. He's had his up and downs in Pittsburgh. And then he was in New England with Tom Brady, of course. And then after that, he went on a hiatus, as far as, tried to figure out where he was as a person, as an individual, as a player. And once he came back, he probably approached Bruce Arians. And when Tom Brady came to, Tampa Bay, he was licking his chops like, I have to play with this guy again.
Yeah.
There's so much talent on this offense. We didn't mention Mike Evans either. So he's got some really good players that can, score up some points. It's just a matter of, is Tom Brady's legacy going to make up if he's going to win the Super Bowl or lose to a kid that was just flat out better? Now, on the other side of the ball with Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know if this is going to be your alternative question, what can Patrick Mahomes do against
Go ahead. Go for it. Go for it.
To win?
Yeah, go for it.
With that, Patrick Mahomes, he's got a Swiss Army knife at every position pretty much. He's got a three-headed monster if you think about it at running back. He's got Edwards-Helaire at LSU. He's got the guy that came from the Jets,
Le'Veon Bell.
Steelers, Le'Veon Bell. I couldn't think of his name. So, and then they have a third guy that comes in. I can't remember if it's his. I mean, I'll probably remember it, but they have that three-headed monster at running back, of course. They got Travis Kelce at tight end, Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. They got Hardman, who had a regretful fumble at the goal line for, a touchdown, or I think it was a 1 yard turnover on that punt. And then, of course, he redeemed himself a couple of times with catching a touchdown and running it in as well. So with that being said, they have a really good offensive line as well. They have a couple former first round draft picks. Eric Fisher, I don't think he's playing. I think he tore his ACL or had knee injury. There's going to be I wouldn't say less talented, but an inexperienced guy jump in there at that position. So it's just a matter of which offensive line, which defensive line can get that penetration, that bull rush, and get to the quarterback. I mean, if you get the quarterback to the ground or you get him out of his comfort zone, anything can happen. I mean, like we mentioned before, it'll be the shootout, and it's just a matter of who wants it more. If Brady wants his 7th ring, or if Mahomes wants to start his legacy and solidify his greatness with ring number 2.
What's one thing that the Bucks defense can do to attempt to slow down this Chiefs offense?
Well, you can't really double team Hill, Kelce, Hardman. You can't really blitz every down, because then the Kansas City the offensive coordinator can make some adjustments and, shift the line to the right or the left, depending on the protection as far as a pass, or, get to the second level when you're blocking as a run. I wouldn't say the sky's the limit. It's just depending on, what the offensive coordinator sees from his assistants up in the booth. They holler down to him and say, hey, they're blitzing from the right, they're blitzing from the left, they're sneaking up the safety, they're chop blocking one of our, tight ends. The list can go on as far as what can be done or what can be edited or what can be changed to, affect the outcome of the game. In my opinion, and I don't want to throw Aaron Rodgers in the mix, what quarterback gets the ball out of their hands fastest is going to be the one that's probably going to succeed and win the game. Because then you won't have any issues with, getting tackled for a loss or taking a dead play or getting sacked and, all that other stuff that can give you negative yards and a negative impact on the game instead of a positive, throwing touchdowns and, getting first down.
Yeah. You talk about the legacy of Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a lot of weapons. Some may say way too many weapons for one team to have. The Chiefs have a lot of weapons on offense, but the Buccaneers have a lot as well. From Leonard Fournette, who you mentioned, you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Christian or Cameron Brate. I forget what the other tight end's name is, Rob Gronkowski. And I think Gronkowski's experience, he may not have the production, and I don't believe he is the quarterback, tight end he used to be. But I do think the experience of Brady and Gronk together will be seen in a big way during this game on Sunday. In your eyes, when you think about the connection that Brady and Gronk had, not just on the field, but the leadership as well, how will that duo affect this offense and the Buccaneers propelling and trying to win this game?
I wouldn't say, I mean, like you were mentioning, I don't know if you hit the hammer, to the nail or not, but, Gronkowski isn't putting up numbers like he did in New England. He wasn't Tom Brady's, Swiss Army knife in New England. You had, Julian Edelman and Antonio Brown for a short time, and then you had, Josh Gordon and a number of other players. This Buccaneers defense, or offense rather, is different. They have all this talent. So I think Tom Brady is assuming that Bruce Arians and the defensive coordinator are going to assume, hey, I'm going to go to Gronk, I'm going to go to Brown, I'm going to go to Godwin, I'm going to go to Evans. They have the new Julian Edelman, as people are calling him. So he has that short, Beasley wide receiver, Edelman receiver that he could flat out run and gun, and he could catch a ball on a dime. And I think that's going to make a big impact as well, because Kansas City, even though they are 18-1, they lost that one game. That's not going to hinder them from, succeeding. Hopefully, we always, knock on wood, and we want Tom Brady to lose in an aspect that, us being Colts fans,
Exactly.
It was always Tom Brady that was in the way from us going to the Super Bowl, going to the, championship game. And, it was like a thorn in your side, a great individual, he's the greatest, the greatest quarterback of all time, hands down, not because of Super Bowl wins, but the accomplishments that he was able to gather up and solidify his name. Obviously, one, in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame, but two, being a well-rounded quarterback that, gave everything he had and helped anybody that needed help succeed as well. So to answer your question again, he won't go to Gronk primarily. I mean, you mentioned he had a couple other tight ends that he could utilize. He could disperse the ball, so it kind of confuses Kansas City, I guess, in the first half. And then that's what your coordinators or assistants are responsible for, is to figure out what Tom Brady did, what play he called, how the line shifted, how, the audibles occurred. And then hopefully they could figure out how to stop Tom in the second half. The key thing is keeping Tom Brady off the field. Same with Patrick Mahomes. So at the end of the day, it could be defense versus defense. Just a matter of who can get to each quarterback basket.
You're there, man. You're right on. We're going to go back to the offense of Kansas City once again. This little wrinkle, this little addition that I think may be very, very key. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a rookie. Le'Veon Bell's been around a while, going from Pittsburgh to New York. New York, injuries, not the best organization. They just fired their head coach, Adam Gase. Not really sure what's going to happen with Sam Darnold. And that organization up there has a lot to do to get from where they currently are to be a contender in the NFL in the postseason and to strive to win another NFL championship or win another Super Bowl. Le'Veon Bell right now is in a backup role, and I haven't really heard much griping, much complaining, much upset. You haven't heard that much from Antonio Brown either. They used to be teammates. Now they're on the opposite sides trying to host up the Lombardi. I think Le'Veon Bell with this offense and with Patrick Mahomes, that will be a great combination, because there may be things that Le'Veon Bell can see that Mahomes may have never seen from anyone before, because I do believe that defense of the Buccaneers will throw some things at Patrick Mahomes that's new, not just this year, but things he's never seen in his career before. With the offense of the Chiefs, when they have the ball, how do you think the dynamic that Le'Veon Bell being around a while can affect and have a great impact in being a leader and helping this offense? Maybe if they get into a little rut, Le'Veon Bell could say, hey, guys, look, I've seen this before numerous times. Here's how you combat it. They do it. And Le'Veon Bell may not get the touches on the field, but I think his voice may be very big in helping the Chiefs be on the right side, on the winning side of this game.
I mean, you mentioned Le'Veon Bell. The way his running style is patient.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets the ball, he's not heading north-south like Adrian Peterson, like Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, all those guys did. It's patient. That's why the guys up front, hopefully they get paid their lonesome, amount of money that they're worth. Look at, Dallas. I mean, you can name of a bunch of offensive lines that has really good players that, Le'Veon Bell, could have played for, Pittsburgh in an instant. It's all about being patient. With him being a leader, you could see from his years in Pittsburgh, you didn't really see any issues, concerns until either he started to conclude it or, accumulated injury or things happened. He didn't like the coaches, and then he was either traded, released. I can't think of the extent of why he left Pittsburgh. And then he signed that mega deal in New York. I guess you can throw Frank Gore in the mix too when he left Indianapolis.
Yeah.
When he left Indianapolis, he went to Buffalo, from Buffalo to, the Jets. And then most people were just thinking, what was he thinking? He had a great organization around him. Maybe he was going there for the money, or he wanted to say, hey, I played for the Jets for a year, and he's finally calling it quits. But moving back to, Le'Veon Bell, his leadership speaks volumes. He was with an organization to where they're keen on winning Lombardi trophies. Then obviously playing with, Hilaire. I mean, he showed what he was about at LSU. I'm assuming there's some highlight reels when he played in high school. But LSU, he was on the largest stage with, Joe Burrow, Burrex, or however you want to mention how he spelled his name to kind of solidify his tradition of, what Louisiana is about. But, it takes patience to, see where those gaps are open, see where those holes are, but you were mentioning as well, they're going to see things that they haven't seen before. Patrick Mahomes is going to see things. My key instinct is if I'm a quarterback to his magnitude and I'm seeing, blitzes come off one end or the other, I'm dishing it out, or I'm throwing it away, or I'm trying to make something happen. I don't want to take a sack because you're losing yards. You're going backwards. You're not going towards the end zone. You're going away from it. So I would just, if you see something that's off, check down. Do it, run if you think, issues are going to happen and concerns, and you move on from there. So, with that being said, just, be patient. Le'Veon Bell's that key person that's dealt with patience as far as his running style, and we know what he's about. So, that's pretty much what I've kind of accumulated, or what I think they should do. So.
I got you, man. Ronnie, as we wrap this thing up, game's coming up in a few days. This is coming out being on Thursday morning. Who do you have winning the game? The Chiefs or the Bucks?
As much as I hate Tom Brady, with a passion, it's kind of, like I said, a thorn in your side. And, he's one of those players that had so much success, being a 6th-round pick 199, not thinking he'd have a light of day to enter in on a field. I'm going to go with Kansas City because obviously being the reigning Super Bowl champs, they got all those weapons. A little iffy on their defense to see if they could stop Tom Brady. I don't really know a point spread or predict what score should be. I wouldn't say it's high scoring because each defense wants to stop the other offense. If I would probably have to guess, I would probably say Kansas City 31, I was going to say New England, Tampa Bay 24. 31-24, be a tight, a tight knit game. I'm assuming the game will end maybe on a Tom Brady interception or a late Kansas City touchdown or field goal. That'd be my prediction. Take it as you will. Probably some of your audience or so forth won't agree upon that, but at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have our opinions, and the rest is history. And can't really wait to see what happens on Sunday. Hopefully, it's going to be an eventful game, and we'll sit back and watch the young gun of the NFL and the old legend hopefully making his exit and retiring or coming back for season number 22. We don't know.
No, man, I'm on the same trajectory that you are. I'm going. I know we don't do score predictions, but I'll do one for today. I know you said 31-24. I'm going 34-30 Kansas City. I do think it ends in a Tom Brady interception. Now, late fourth quarter, trying to drive, trying to get the lead. You got to score a touchdown, not kick a field goal to get the lead or to tie the game to go into overtime. Ultimately, I do think that Tom Brady throws the interception. Now, I do think it's going to be a good pass. There's a Chiefs defense will make the right play at the right time, pick the ball off. They slide, they kill the clock. Still some time left. Patrick Mahomes comes on the field to kneel the ball, and then they win the Super Bowl. Part of it is not just me thinking Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady can do it. I know their offense and their defense can do it. I just have a hard time going against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I do also know one thing Andy Reid has learned since he played Tom Brady against the Eagles. Eagles, Andy Reid, Tom Brady, New England, Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl when we were in high school. You can't mess up with clock management, because clock management in the Super Bowl, that's the only reason the Eagles lost the game. If they would have been on their P's and Q's and Donovan McNabb would have actually understood and Reed would have understood clock management, I do think the Eagles win that game with Terrell Owens playing that game with a broken leg. I think he had 10 catches in that game as well. But I'm going Chiefs 34-30. Late game, Tom Brady throws a pick. And then there's the question, does he come back or will he not come back? I don't know. I'm not going to debate that or talk about that right now. That's another podcast for another day. But I am going Chiefs 34-30. Ronnie Roberts, thank you so much for coming back on here, the JCMS podcast. Hopefully they can get you back on a little bit. Hopefully there's not a delay between this time you being on and the next time you come on. Ronnie, thanks so much taking time out of your day to be back on the podcast, man. I really enjoyed it.
You got it. Appreciate your time, and we'll touch base some other time.